Greetings petrolheads, my name is the Tom, you're on my gaming channel, and it's time for another episode of Automation, the car company tycoon game. Now today's not gonna be another replica, because I built one last Saturday, and you know, normally I do replicas on Monday and Tuesday, and then Friday is a build of my own, and then Saturday is something else, automation related obviously. And last Saturday I was planning to do something in particular, which is what I'm going to do today instead. And you know, you've probably heard of Cone Dodger 240. He's a good friend of mine, and he has initiated another community challenge. But this time, instead of building your own car to compete with his, he made his 2006 lineup available for everyone, and you could download those files and choose one of those cars and modify it. As long as you don't change the aesthetics, you make a new trim, you can do basically whatever you want. You can put a different engine in. You can just change pretty much everything about the suspension, the interior, and so on, all you want. Even though he would prefer if you would keep the engine that's in there in the car, and you know, maybe make some modifications, but basically keep the same block in there, because he says that's better for the spirit of the car. However, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put a different engine in there. However, let's first take a look at the car that I am going to modify, and it's the Caisson. The Caisson, if I understand his point correctly, is a premium estate car that also packs quite a punch and is, you know, has good straight line performance. Remember, we're in 2006, and in that car, in that year, if you were to build a premium estate car, a fast premium estate car, you had some pretty obvious rivals coming from Germany, including the Audi RS6, the BMW M5 Touring, and so the Caisson is gonna have a rough time really stacking up to those, but it does have a chance. You know, I'm not gonna say, oh, it's never gonna be as good as an M5 before I actually know whether or not it is. So we got all-wheel drive. What kind of chassis do we have? Corrosion-resistant steel, the wishbone front, multi-link rear, giving us a good amount of sportiness and comfort. We do see that there is a V8 in there, and the panels are plastic. Kinda questionable for a premium estate car, but it is what it is, and it'll probably work out in the end, I hope. So it is all-wheel drive. And this 5-liter V8 is from the Gen 2 V8 DFI family. It has a maximum bore and stroke of 98mm, but this in particular has 94.1 times 89.9. We're making 501 horsepower, 505 Newton meters. The crank is cast iron with I-beam steel conrods for a good amount of revs, and lightweight forged pistons for the same purpose. Pretty high compression ratio, 11.6 is fairly high. So is the VVL profile. Oh, I didn't realize we have VVL in there. That's interesting. Yeah, that's where this kind of bump in the higher RPM range comes in. Like, that's where it comes from. It's like, you know, VTEC kicked in, yo. That's basically what VVL does. It gives you a nice boost in the higher RPM range. it is naturally aspirated. We got direct injection, which 2006, that's realistic. That's where, you know, most companies started using direct injection. That's where it really became mainstream. Single configuration, standard intake, premium gas, nothing too special here. The fuel mixture of 13.3 to 1 is average. It's not very lean and thus very economical, but it's still in the good range here. The ignition timing of 70 is relatively sporty, and so is the RPM limit of 7500 RPM. You got tubular exhausts, dual setup, you know, get those nice two pipes out of there, and we got two straight through mufflers for a good amount of sound. And the exhaust diameter is for once actually appropriate. Gotta give you credit for that, Cone Dodger. And let's listen to this thing. You could also really hear the difference when the VVL kicked in. It got much louder and clearer to hear. The production units are 95.6, which I think is an adequate level for a 5-liter V8 in a premium car, at least. If it's a cheap car, like, I don't know, a cheap version of a Mustang, but that has to have a 5-liter V8, then the production unit should be lower than this. The reliability of 68.4 is decent, so is the economy of 24.17%. The smoothness is nice for a V8 63. That is, you know, if you're gonna go for a high smoothness, normally you would choose an inline-6 or a V12, but we don't have those in the game yet, unfortunately. The weight is pretty high though. The weight is really high, 273.1. Kind of materials, yeah, aluminium. I can't really say aluminium is a poor choice. However, I don't know whether it was mainstream to do so, but I know for a fact that BMW, even in their 325i versions of 2006, you know, the E90/E92, those engines all used magnesium blocks. So again, I don't know if that was a mainstream or if that was just BMW that did that. Anyway, back to the case, and we got a sequential gearbox with 6 speeds, and it's geared to do 382 kilometers per hour. So there's plenty of room for tuners, you know. Wink, wink. The spacing is 50, so it's exactly in the middle here. We got a viscous LSD with 40 to 60 power distribution. Remember, this car is all-wheel drive. We got medium compound road tires with 18-inch rims. Yeah, they don't seem too big. There's still a lot of profile left. 265s front and rear with alloy rims. Vented discs, only 2 pistons front and 1 rear. And you can see that the brakes and that the front brakes are less aggressive than what the tires could actually take. I don't know how to put it in words. The front tires offer more grip than is currently used by the brakes to effectively stop the car. So you could go for bigger brakes. Okay, so even if you change that, it was at 310. I'm not gonna change that for now. If you would use 4 pistons, you see that the brakes are strong enough, no matter how much grip a tire currently offers, to stop the car effectively. Anyway, 1 piston in the rear is apparently enough. and 285's rear, 310 front, 45 on the pad types. It's a little bit more comfortable. And we get a fully clad under tray, which is for a good drag coefficient and a good top speed. We saw that it will do probably around 315 kilometers an hour. The wing angle, it actually does have a front lip and a rear lip, and however he did not bother with adjusting those angles. Even though it says wing angle, the lips count for this as well. So if you choose a higher setup, a higher number here, for example 60, you could see that those graphs have actually changed. And that is because this also affects lips. So a higher value there makes the lip more aggressive and produce more downforce, but also a higher drag coefficient. Cooling airflow is fine. Brake airflow, we don't have any of that. Might be a little bit questionable on a performance estate car. But again, I'm not gonna be the one to judge. You get a 5 seats with premium interior plus 2 quality actually. So that's gonna be a really nice place to sit. Standard CD, power steering, ABS, traction control, no stability control or launch control. It's not necessary probably, but it would be nice to have electronic stability just for, you know, drivability reasons, and it's most of all a feature that gets you sales, because if you have all the driver aids, you can argue, oh, this car, look, it's got 500 horsepower, but it's so easy to drive because it's got all the driver aids in the world. And that is an argument that many people will think is true. And you can say that even about the car that is so perfectly balanced that you would not even need the driver aids. But as long as they're in there, you know, people got a reason to think that it's easy to drive. The safety is standard for the 2000s. That's fine. Looks like we got a little bit of a modified sport setup here. We got progressive springs, gas monotube dampers, and passive sway bars. Really nice sportiness ratio. I like this. I like this. This yaw rate graph, the steering behavior. It's really quite a lot on the sporty side, but also still very drivable. Also, this graph right here tells us that it probably rides really well, because the blue and the yellow graph are the wheels. You know how much movement there is in the wheels if the car goes over a bump, and they are very close together, and so are the ones for the body. So yeah, it probably rides pretty smoothly. So there is that, and the ride height is 154.6 millimeters. It's somewhere in the mid-range here, a little bit above average, maybe. That's fine, because this car, after all, is also supposed to be comfortable, right? It is a premium estate, after all. And we got a drivability of 57.3, sportiness 43.3, comfort 40.1, prestige 32, and safety 55.4. Of course, a car like this is gonna be heavy, so this one weighs 1831.2 kilograms. The reliability is good, 71.3. So is the utility with 96.7. The economy, let's be honest, nobody can really expect to be that low. I mean, 12.4 liters is kind of a lot, but then again, it is to be expected on a car like this. And total costs are 15,751, so that's gonna put it into probably the price range of its European rivals, like the Audi RS6 Avant, it's called, like the estate version of the RS6. or the BMW M5 Touring, and it's gonna be tough to compare this car to the real cars. However, I can give you the performance stats. It does 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, which is on par with Germany's finest, if you will. The top speed is 275.4, which is, you know, the German ones are probably they're all limited to 250 kilometers an hour, but if you take the limiters off, they would be faster than this. Yeah, but that doesn't really say a whole lot, because the limiter is still in there, so it's still limited to 250. However, there are a good amount of tuners for those cars, like the M5 Touring or the Audi RS6 are pretty popular cars to be tuned. And for example, you might have heard of the M5 Touring or not from G-Power. G-Power is a German BMW tuner, and they made the M5/M6 from that generation to produce 800 horsepower while still remaining the rear-wheel drive setup, because like by twin supercharging the V10 engine from that car. Or the Audi RS6 was popularly tuned by, you know, MTM or OCT. A couple of European tuners actually did modify those cars. So I think at this point it's my time to modify this one, but I don't really wanna keep this engine in here. I wanna build one of my own, because I want this car to feel and be a little bit more expensive, a little bit more high-end, but also with a higher comfort, because I think 40.1 is a little bit on the lower side. And maybe we can get some better fuel economy out of it as well. So what I'm going to do is make a new trim here. Let's go for a different color here. We are gonna keep it all-wheel drive though, I think. And we are gonna build a new engine. As I said before, for smoothness purposes, you would rather prefer to have an inline-6, and I'm going to make it from aluminium silicone, not because it's gonna be overly expensive, but rather because I think it saves weight, and the weight loss from the aluminium silicone is probably more than compensated for by what I'm going to do afterwards. So the capacity, I want a big inline-6 in there. We keep in mind, I do want to make more power than the Caisson already does. So we're gonna require quite a bit of an engine here. 102 maybe. We are gonna make it bigger though. Thankfully, this is the larger variant of this body shell. So it's got a really nice and big engine bay. That allows me to probably go for like 104, 105 bore. Let's make it a 5.7 liter inline-6. I know this sounds a little bit ridiculous, but I'd much prefer to have a V12 engine in there, just like a Rolls-Royce, you know. And the Rolls-Royce traditionally comes with a 6.75 liters V12, and I have built 6.75 liter inline sixes before. I'm gonna go for 5 volts per cylinder, just because I think it's gonna be more effective. And since I'm not going to care about costs in this one, you know, I'm not gonna go crazy on the quality, so it's still not gonna be, you know, in the same price class as a Rolls-Royce. However, it will be probably more expensive than the standard Caisson, and that is basically the category I'm aiming at. More expensive, but also probably more capable, and most of all, more comfortable. So what I'm going to try and do is go for a really small turbine, like 40 millimeters, and make this thing spool up really early. We don't need that much boost. 0.8 bars should be fine. If we go for the max AR ratio, you know, let's go 1.35. Injection, direct injection. I don't think we need throttle per cylinders or performance intake, let alone race intake. We are gonna go for a premium fuel type, and the fuel mixture of 13.5 to 1 seems pretty okay. 80 ignition timing, and probably like 6300 RPM limit. I don't think this engine is gonna rev really hard. And since this is basically an AMW engine, and AMW is partnered with Remus, because it's also an Austrian company, I can feel justified in putting those +3 qualities in there, because every engine produced by AMW will have a Remus exhaust system, and since they are the world's best exhaust systems overall, I feel like adding a little bit of quality there is understandable. We are gonna go for high flow freeway cat and straight through mufflers. We're probably gonna make like this much power. 517 horsepower, a lot of torque. A lot of torque. I can't put it any other way. You can still make this a little bit more capable. 812 Newton meters at 2500 RPM. Our bottom end is fine, so I can probably increase the rev limit a little bit. 6500. Yeah, that's pretty good. And the economy is really good, 31.41% for a 531 horsepower 5.7 liter inline six. So let's see what that does in reality here. We are still gonna go for the sequential gearbox, not because of, you know, here's the thing, I realized that the automatic gearbox will give me better comfort. However, it shifts so slowly in this game, no matter how much quality you put into it, that I feel like the sequential is still the one to go for. We're gonna have this car be pretty fast, I think. So we're also going to change the spacing here. What kind of tires do we want? Still medium compound road, I think. We want more tire profile. We're gonna go for a little bit, for just a little bit wider rear tires, because we are still sending 60% of the power to the rear wheels, and we got a little bit more power now than we used to have. And let's offset the rims a little bit. Like so. Still alloy wheels. Those look fine, I guess. We got a good amount of profile left, so the comfort shouldn't suffer too much. I'm gonna go for 4 pistons front. You know what, screw it, I'm gonna go for 6 pistons front. And the reason why is because once I get that graph here, I will have... I will be able to adjust the pad type so that it doesn't hurt the braking performance very much, but it still stops accordingly. Fully clad still. I don't think we need downforce that much. It should still be... There should still be a little bit of it, but overall I think less wing angle is totally justifiable. This engine does not require that much cooling, which is a good thing. We are gonna add some brake airflow because I think it's just useful to you know, avoid brake fade. We still get 5 seats in there. I'm gonna go for luxury though and premium entertainment here. I'm gonna go for the full driver assist suite because if this car is about to be capable, I think you should make it also more accessible by putting the stability control in there, and the launch control is really gonna make, you know, the launch really easy. I want to go for advanced safety, even though I know it's gonna make the car very heavy. But still, air suspension, adaptive dampers, semi-active sway bars. Yeah, since this car is going to be more expensive, I feel justified in putting those in here. Comfort suspension setup. I'm gonna change that a little bit later. We're weighing more than 2 tons now. The reliability did go down because we added more stuff in the interior that, you know, might break from time to time. The economy is way better now though. Less than 10 liters per 100 kilometers. The comfort is 54.3. Sportiness did not suffer very much, if at all, I can remember. Safety is now better, prestige is better, I think. And so is the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time. And let's just let it run for a while. That is a nice sound. So now I'm gonna adjust the suspension here. We get a pretty nice ride comfort here as well, just like on a regular Caisson. And I don't really like the front spring to be that stiff. Let's lower it just a little bit, like so. Not losing very much comfort, not gaining a lot of sportiness. But it did result in a little bit of bottoming out, so if I put it back up, it's gone again. We can make the sway bars a little bit stiffer, giving us a nice boost in sportiness. I think this is a really nice ratio between sportiness and drivability. How much wheel spin do we get? 15.6%, so we can now adjust. Oh, we don't have a differential in here yet. Geared LSD? 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds. That's actually really good. Let's see, can we reduce wheel spin this way? No. That way? Yes. Yeah, so this is about as good as it's gonna get. What else can we adjust? I don't think I want more downforce. cooling flaps will help though, with our fuel economy. I don't think this is gonna be a priority though. What else? We have 275, so we still have room for wider tires on the rear and on the front though. So we could change that if we wanted to. Don't think I want to though. We might go for sports compound road tires though, because you know the cars I was talking about earlier, the RS6, the M5 Touring and so on, they come on sports tires as standard if I'm not completely mistaken. Like I'm pretty sure they do. So what does this do for us? Not a whole lot actually. Not a whole lot that I would want, to be precise. I'm gonna stick with the medium compound road tires. 19s seem to fit fine. Brake pads. Give me the graph, please. So we are way above where we would have to be. I can make these really comfortable. This did decrease our sportiness a little bit, but gave us some drivability and comfort. So I feel fine doing that. Can even go for less here. Yeah, that works. That works fine. The front currently gets more downforce than the rear, probably because there's more weight over the front axle because the engine is up front. This doesn't help the drivability. It doesn't change the sportiness either very much, so I'm gonna leave it as is. This is fine, so I think I'm pretty... This is the Caisson AMW tuned. Because I think this car, you know, with the total cost of 20,824. Actually, I was lying before when I said that with 15,700 something, it would be on par with the prices of the BMW and Audis. That's not true. It would be now though, because you know an M5 Touring costs like what? It used to cost like, I don't know, probably about $100,000, and it would be really unfair to assume that a car with a total cost of 15,000 and something would in the end be put on sale for $100,000. That's just not how it works. Even this one would probably be below the price of Audi and BMW. However, I think it is more comparable to those cars when it comes to, you know, the performance. The straight line performance is actually better. 127.17 around the effort track is also probably better than the M5 Touring and so on. However, what I was mainly aiming for is the fact that you can tune this engine, the 5.7 liter, to about as high as you want to go. Like you can really mess around with those qualities, and the fuel mixture, put that up to like 11.0 to 1 and give it some performance intakes. You can sharpen the cam profile, it's only at 35. You can increase the compression ratio, the ignition timing. It's got so much more potential left in it that I think it would be better suited for the market, knowing that there's tuners around there who think 531 horsepower is not enough. And on that matter, I think the old 5 liter and AV8, sure, you could turbocharge it or twin supercharge it, but at the same time, I think as far as the 5-liter naturally aspirated engine goes, you're not gonna get that much more performance out of it if you're gonna keep it naturally aspirated. Whereas this one, this already is turbocharged, and it's, for a tuning company, it's not a big problem to, you know, increase the max boost or put a bigger turbine in there or mess with the AR ratio or something like that. It's easily done, and they can make a lot of money out of tuning this car now. And that would also appeal to, you know, customers, because they think, you know, I can buy this car and then I can take it to a tuner and they can give me like, I don't know, 900 or 1000 horsepower out of this engine. Yeah, I don't see that happening with the 5-liter NA, because yeah, what kind of matching are you working to make a 5-liter NA produce 1000 horsepower? And then the company responds like, well, we twin turbocharged it. I didn't want the turbos. Yada yada yada, you know, because if you buy this car with this engine, you know that it's turbocharged, and so if you're gonna buy a turbocharged car, you're not gonna complain about a tuning company messing with the turbo setup to give you more power, right? Because it's turbocharged to begin with. However, some people just prefer naturally aspirated engines, and that's why they would go for the base version with the 5-liter NA. However, they would also prefer not to have it turbocharged by a tuner. That's what I'm trying to say. This is the I'm gonna name the engine and engine variant afterwards, but I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please click the like button, it helps out a great deal. Also consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more content in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.